Hey now, here we are back with one last review for today. I was wearing shirts earlier, but it was the same day. This is the review for the full first season of Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. Either you really care about the show or you don't care. I didn't review episode to episode because I only really do episode to episode for shows that I really like, and I feel like each episode needs kind of its own story. This one I wasn't sure because it's the first season, and I only watched it because it had to do with the basketball team, and I love basketball, so I wanted to test out the whole first season before I did anything, and it merits a review for sure. If you don't know, it's really controversial because the story of the show is the Showtime Lakers, which is, for now it is. It's really the story of, I'm forgetting his name, Mr. Buss, who's the guy who bought the Lakers right before they started kind of becoming the Lakers of present, which is Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and that first run that they made where they became the Showtime Lakers, and that led to strings of championships in a bunch of different eras, essentially. The dynasty that we know them as now, that anybody who's alive now would know them as. And so it's how they kind of built that up. And the controversy is that apparently they didn't get the go-ahead from the Lakers here, and so they kind of skipped around. They used the real names, which I'm like, obviously someone had to sign off because they're using people's names and they're not like getting sued, even though like everybody from this show that's like named in the show is going, oh, I hate this isn't true, none of this is true, and only Jerry West is the one taking legal action, and that's even just a threat, and he's doing it because it's basically defamation of his character. Like the person who plays him on the show, the way they paint him is kind of like he was this hothead. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but he's saying it's not, and he hates it, so he's saying, like, I'm going to take legal action. I'm not sure it is. HBO's already put it through for a second season, so it can't be making that many, like, political, like, social, actual legal waves. I don't know. That's giving it a lot of bad buzz, because apparently it's being said that a lot of the stuff they're doing is fictitious. Honestly, I don't care if it is. I know that some of it has to be. I like that they're taking a story that was already interesting enough, and they're adding something that makes it interesting. Girl from Plainville. They took a true story and didn't add anything to it, so I didn't really care. It was too new. It wasn't well done. This, they're taking a story that is already very aged, but that with a little bit of tweaking is super interesting. And they're taking characters and tweaking them a little bit to make them super interesting. And so I've really enjoyed it. I think there were episodes that were kind of slow and everything that needed to be, but I'm enjoying it. And as a basketball fan, I'm really excited about where it's going. I know it's already going to season 2, which is going to be kind of based in just this team. I'm sensing it's probably only ever going to follow this chunk, but it's exciting to see the things they could pull out. Like, it's like, depending on how far they want to go with this whole thing, the point of the show is the Lakers dynasty, which goes on even till present day. So it's like they could tie in a lot of different things. But again, I'm pretty sure they're going to kind of stick with probably if they get it. Hopefully they get more than a second season, because even if the second season is awful, I'd love to just see the spectrum of where they go. Like, this is a show I'd watch not to see if it's good, but even just because the subject matter, which is rare. And so I would love for them to get the opportunity to go as far as they can with it. And then season 2, I'm sure they already have a plan. I'm really intrigued by the whole idea. I think John C. Reilly is really good. He plays Dr. Buss. Honestly, there's not a lot of, wow, he's forgetting. He plays Pat Riley, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's very well. He won the Oscar for The Pianist. He's very good. Jason Segel's even in it, and he plays Paul Westfall. I think it's Paul Westfall. Westfall is his last name. So they got some good actors, but not even the actors you'd expect to be in it. I think it's very, very good. It's very interesting, and even at its worst, it intrigues me. So, I mean, if that's the worst case scenario, I'm not bad on it. I think the casting of Larry Bird and Julius Erving is damn near disrespectful. The guys that have cast in that do not look anything like a basketball player, and had to know somebody from like the industry just to get these parts, because the guy who plays Larry Bird is built like a 12-year-old, and the guy who plays Julius Erving is built like a 15-year-old. Not a great look. And then they're supposed to be like the most dominant players in the show. They're supposed to be better than these guys on the Lakers who are actually built like basketball players. That's the only thing, my only real gripe with the show is that whoever cast those two parts needs to be fired and kicked out of Hollywood and never come back. I don't care what your excuse is. That's awful. It's just bad. Besides that, Adam McKay is the director and I think the producer and everything. And actually, I don't know if he's a director, but it's his whole project. And I'm a huge fan of Adam McKay, and so that really excited me from the beginning. I was like, him taking on a basketball thing, and the way it's shot is super interesting and very Adam McKay style, where there's a lot of like straight to camera and breaking that fourth wall. And in this, it's weird because usually you have like either a breaking fourth wall where it's like The Office where everyone knows there's cameras, or nobody knows. And it's like Fleabag where only one person knows that the camera's there. This is, they talk to the camera like a fourth wall, but the camera's not in the reality. It's just like they are just breaking the fourth wall. But then the people off camera hear them talking but don't address it to the fourth wall. Like if they make a point to the camera, the person will hear them, but they're not gonna be like, why are you talking to a camera? They're just gonna react as if they're saying that to them. You know, like if John C. Reilly makes a point and goes like, oh, at one point he talks about like swans. And he's like, oh, like they look graceful, but they're paddling like hell underwater. And then somebody off camera will be like, oh, you're telling your story. But they won't address that he's like talking to somebody else, and they'll react as if he's speaking to them. And I think that that's just a really cool touch. And the way I just said it probably made it so confusing, and you're like, what are you talking about? If you're interested in basketball or Adam McKay, go watch the show and you'll know what I mean. If not, don't worry about it. It's not the best show in the world, but it's an interesting concept. And the same thing I said with the review before this with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sometimes it's just good to have a breath of fresh air, something that you never have seen before. And I haven't seen this before. So that's enough for me. In that sense, I'm easy to please. And I think it's worth seeing for any basketball fans and anybody that's like in that mindset that's looking for something new to watch, or in any Adam McKay fans. I think those are kind of the two parties that are going to have any interest in this show. Anybody else, I would dare say you're not going to like it. Because it doesn't offer enough for somebody who's on the fence about either of those other things to enjoy it just for the sake of it being a great show, because it's not. It's a good show, but you need to have an interest in something outside of what it's presenting for it to really matter. But I liked it. It was good. I'm looking forward to season 2, and that's it. It's already confirmed for season 2, so it'll at least have that, unless legal action is taken. And I'll be back with that. Maybe I'll do episode to episode. Peace!